Hey everyone, it's Foxx from modelmakingguru.com here, and welcome to part 4 of our build of the 4. Just checking. Part 4 of the build of the Master Grade 1/100 scale Sinanju Stein as a skill level 2 build, so the next step up from absolute beginner. And with a budget of about 50 to 60 quid, it seems to vary. Where did we get to last time? Last time I just started doing all the decals. Here is a small selection of parts just for one leg. And you can see now all the decals have been done. All the parts we gunk washed in episode 2 or 3, I think 3, they're still drying. It takes about 5 days for a gunk wash to dry. All the decals are on. Everything's been gloss varnished, all the parts, all the weapons, everything. Save for 1 or 2 little bits I need to do more painting on, and we'll get to that later. Everything has been now glossed, ready, and we're ready to start the weathering. Now we're going to make some slight adjustments to the products and to our overall budget and get it down a bit. You may remember in the original budget I included a roll of Tamiya tape. We've not used that, and we're not going to need to use it now, so we can take that out, which takes our budget to... now what we're going to do instead is add something back into the equation, because now we've taken that down by 4 quid. We're going to add in some Ammo of MiG Gunship Grey, a MiG 204. Now the reason I'm adding... oh, that takes our total to... see, so we got it down a little bit. It's not bad at all. Now the reason I'm adding Gunship Grey is because I need to start doing paint chipping onto the top of the gloss varnish. I was going to use some Tamiya German Grey mixed with a little of Ammo of MiG Silver Grey, MiG 212. Oh, joy. Tony, your spirit walks these halls. Anyway, let's just never mind about that. So I was going to mix some of this into some of this to make it a little darker. This is a great colour for doing chipping on the darker parts, but it's a bit too white to go on the white part, so I like to darken it. This isn't a pot, this is a dropper. As you saw in the last video, when I was mixing some paints, I was basically putting like 3 drops of one and 1 drop of the other. This stuff comes in a dropper bottle as well. So it makes it easier, because I've got a lot of parts. This is one leg. I've got a lot of parts to do, so this way I can make sure I get the same colour each time by so many drops of this, so many drops of that. So, where are we going to start? Well, first thing we're going to do, I may have mentioned we're going to go into a gunk wash, but we don't do that yet. Remember I was saying think about how things weather. We need to add the paint chipping on, and things like gunk washing and other things afterwards are what go on top of that, basically. So paint chipping, we want to paint first, because if you imagine the paint flakes off and exposes something underneath, that's going to get weathered as well. So if we do the gunk wash now and then the paint chipping, we're going to make nice clean paint chips, which will just look weird. So we need to do the paint chipping first, then we'll go on to the gunk wash and other things. So what I will do is I will go and get these all cleared away. Right, okay, let's get cracking on this paint chipping. I'm going to show you how to do a blue part and a white part. I've chosen some small parts, otherwise we'll be here all day. For the white part, we're going to use the mixture of the Gunship Grey and the Silver Grey. Put them in shot there. For the blue part, we'll just use the Silver Grey. So I'm just going to give the paints a good shake. Now, the good thing about these Ammo of MiG paints is they have little stainless steel balls in the ones with yellow caps. They have stainless steel stirring balls, so you can really get the pigment mixed in. And just to show you, it even says in their box, contains stirring balls. Yes. As a model maker, I always appreciate stirring balls. Oh, MiG, I do love the way they write English sometimes. Right, so they're painted. So I shall bring in the snail of mixing. And we're going to do, for white, this colour actually is a little off-white. Will it be enough, do you think? Might be a little too subtle. I'm trying to decide now. Yeah, we'll add a little bit to it, just to make sure. So 1, 2, 3. I'll add 3 drops of that. And I'll add 1 drop of the Gunship Grey, and we'll see how this comes out. Oh, it just pops. That's not what I wanted. Now, I'm not mixing a lot here, because obviously it dries out eventually on the palette, and that's just a waste of paint. So let's just get this mixed together. Won't make too much of a difference, it'll just darken it ever so slightly. See, I'm mixing it with the dud end of the brush, not the actual brush end of the brush. Okay, and I'm going to be using my Citadel Artificer. Artificer? No, that's a layer brush. Is that my Artificer? It's the wrong brush. Going to use my Citadel I'm having a Tony moment today. I can't speak. This is my blah, blah. I'm in the wrong room, aren't I? Shall I go out and come in again? I'm going to use my Citadel Artificer brush. There you go. It's just a super fine point. Now, the beauty of doing this, and I found this with MIG paints more than others, the ammo paints, is that because I've got the gloss varnish on there, when I put the paint on, it tends to bead a little bit and pull away and make more chip-like shapes. So we're going to get some paint on the brush, and we're going to pull and twist the brush to keep the point. And all we're going to do is paint along the edge. Now we're suggesting edge chipping, so bits where paint's chipped off edges and things like that. And the trick is to get a wobbly hand, like I've got anyway, and just do tiny little marks. And then it doesn't work because there's not enough paint on the brush. Brilliant! Let's try from the top, might be easier. So what you can do is just put some dots along the edge first, and then just work those in a bit more. Oops. Yeah, that might be a little too dark actually. Tell you what we'll do, we'll take that off. Because it's only just gone on, I can still scrub it off. I'm just doing that now. Just getting it off with a bit of tissue. Tell you what, let's try that again. And again, as always, this is quite difficult for me because I'm normally quite close up with my old man eyes. And because this is far away, because I've got the camera in front of me, in between me and the model, so let's try that again. I'm just using the neat silver grey paint this time. Let's try that again, shall we? I'm just going to go along this edge here. It's a bit better. And it starts off looking a bit shoddy at first, but once you've got the whole model done, it'll make perfect sense. Put a couple of little spots there. And the look I'm going for, if you've been watching any of the Iron-Blooded Orphans or anything on a website I can't remember the name of, which is brilliant, Gundam Info, I have, and as you're watching it, they have adverts, oops, for the HG Barbatos model, or Barbados is preferred. Barbados is my preferred pronunciation. And in that, it's got chipping all over it, and it's just like this. And you know what? I think it looks fantastic. So that's the look I'm going for, is this kind of chipped look. Now you can see my hand is shaking like Billy-O, and that's what I want. I'm actually gripping the brush further down. I'm gripping it down here, not near the ferrule, which for those who don't know is the little metal bit before the bristles, because I want my hand to shake a little bit. And the trick is to keep it random and natural, not have it everywhere. So that'll do quite nicely. You don't want it everywhere, but you do want it in places that makes sense. Edges where there might be friction between pieces. And what you can do as well, I'm just going to put some bits around here. And I know it looks like I've got really stupidly shaky hands, but that's what I want. Put a little scratch down there, like in a straight line. I hope this is coming out. So this colour on its own actually is perfectly fine. So what I might do is take that gunship grey out of the equation again, and that will take our total to, there you go, saving money as we go. Oops, a bit of a big blob there, but that's fine. And it can be quite relaxing, but it can also be quite stressful with doing this, because you want it to look good. And you don't want it to look too deliberate. You want it to look kind of random. And you don't want to do too much of it. It's easy to get carried away on one piece. Now this is near the bottom of the leg, near where the foot is, so it's going to have a lot more damage than say somewhere on the arm. So I can go to town a bit more on this piece, because I know it's in that part of the vehicle. Try to scrape. Oh, well, never mind, it didn't quite come out as I planned. And bear in mind again, once you've gunk washed this and done other weathering on top, this will become more subtle anyway. Okay, so that will do. Now that looks pretty horrendous at the moment, because it looks like I've put loads on there. I'll do some more on these top edges. But like I say, the thing to bear in mind is, you're going to gunk wash over this anyway, which will make it less obvious, make it blend in a little bit. And other things on top, so it will eventually blend away and fade a little bit and become less obvious. But basically the rule is the smallest possible dot of paint you can do is what you want. Keep in mind the golden rule: how big is a person's head in relation to this piece? Look at any vehicle or truck or car, look how big a paint chip is on that. Very rare you'll see a single paint chip bigger than the size of a person's hand. I'm just going to rinse my brush off in my brush wash. You will find your brush clumps up after a while, so keep it rinsed every now and then. So yeah, just keep in mind that you very rarely see a paint chip bigger than, say, your hand. And obviously it's difficult at something this scale to maintain that, but you wouldn't have a chip that big because that's like the car door. So you wouldn't have a paint chip the size of a car door. So we'll take that off. What I'm going to do, now here's a handy trick for you if you're trying to do this, and I'm just going to grab it now. With acrylic paints, water-based or alcohol-based, you can dry them more quickly using a hairdryer, which on this camera is massive, but it's not actually that big. It's because I'm zoomed in. So I need to take this off the blue tack now, but I don't want to smudge the paint. So all I'm going to do is, off camera, very quickly, give it a blast of hairdryer. Not too hot and not too close. You don't want to bend the plastic or knock the camera with your head. So let me do that now. I can't show you because I'm zoomed in and you wouldn't see it. But I'm basically keeping the hairdryer moving all the time and the piece. I'm not focusing on one spot. I just want the paint to quickly flash off enough that I can then move the piece off the blue tack. So as a model maker, and I'm not putting this in budget because you'll have one anyway, as a model maker, a piece of blue tack is a vital piece of kit. So you can see that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Yeah, if you haven't seen that yet, go to Gundam Info, I think it's .com or .net, and just start watching. I mean, watch them anyway. I've been watching, they've got Bill Fighters Try, they've got Iron-Blooded Orphans, and they've just started showing Unicorn. Go on there and have a look, and before each episode there's usually one or two adverts, but in the middle you'll get a little advert for the HD Barbados. I think I prefer Barbados, I don't know. Anyway, go and look at that. You see it and it's like done in CGI and it's dead realistic and it looks brilliant, but it's got loads of that chipping all over it everywhere, and it's just like, yes, looks fantastic. Now, because we didn't mix this colour with anything else earlier on, this colour's actually fine for blue parts. And this is the foot, so this is going to have some proper chipping on it. So we'll go in, make sure it's on camera. And put far too much paint on. Now don't worry about going over decals. Remember what we said. Decals are effectively things painted over over the paint. So it makes sense that that would chip off like any other paint. Hope this is on camera. Tend to focus on edges. In some places you just want to catch the edge. And you can go over bits you've already done just to make them, if they come out a bit patchy looking, just go over them again. Now you could get really advanced if you wanted to and do chipping with two colours. So say in the middle of that splot there, I might put a little bit of a rusty colour to suggest that this undercoat is a light colour, and then underneath that is, say, the bare metal that's rusted. It's actually quite tricky, this. Trust me, it's not as easy as it looks, but it's not as hard as you think. You kind of have to not think about it at all. Like I said, it will look terrible right now, but once you get the weathering on there, it will start to all fit together nicely. Get some around these edges. Oops, it's a big chip, so I can, if you make a big one, just break it up with some little dots around it. Again, try and be random. Try and think logically where paint would chip away. It's going to be on edges, on places where two moving pieces meet. And it's one of those things that even I've been doing this for years, and I've been doing brush chipping for not that long, but one of those things that when you first start doing it on a build, the first few sort of pieces, you'll be a bit rough and ready. But after a little while, you kind of sink into doing it, and then everything kind of makes sense. Let's see if I can do. I've not had much luck doing a scrape yet, so let's see if I can get a scrape going. Nope. Sometimes you can get really fine lines and scrapes, but it's kind of a tricky, lucky thing. One trick I've seen Mig Jimenez do is when you get like an edge like that, do a bit on either side. And then just fill the end in. Try and get that there. And that is looking pretty darn good. Again, it looks really blatant, really obvious, but don't worry, it will all blend in once you get the weathering on there. And it's hard to see how it's going to work out in context, but once the whole thing is built, these little chips will look a lot less obvious. So I'm going to go off and do the whole rest of all the other armour parts, which may take me some time. I won't film it because, again, as I've just shown here, I'm struggling a bit to get these as fine as I normally would because I can't get close to the piece because I've got this camera here. So I'm going to go off and do these. I won't time lapse it, but when we come back, we'll have all the chipping done, and I think then the next stage should be the gunking washing. So leave that with me. I shall be back in but a moment. It's that finger again. Stop it. And we're back. Right, all the chipping has been done except on the weapons. I've not done those yet. All the armour, parts of the backpack, the legs, the skirts, and everything's been done. Truth be told, I think I got a bit carried away and I did a bit too much. But we'll see how it comes out. Basically, I used the, where's it gone? Silver grey, like I said, for all the whites and blues. I also used the cold grey. I changed the paints around again, and I got rid of that grey one I mentioned, and replaced it with the cold grey instead. So the price is still the same at, or it's changed differently slightly at. So that's what we're on at the minute. I used this on, what did I use that on? I used this one on some of the grey parts. Let's see if I can find one. Now I've got to try and find a grey part. So you can see here, that one's a much brighter, whiter colour, so that came out a bit nicer. On those, so that was the cold grey. The rest of it was just the silver grey. Dead simple, two colours, lots of chipping. I kind of went overboard a bit too much. I get carried away. What can I say? So what we're going to do, I don't want to show anything else in this episode now in terms of painting, because the next episode we're going to move on to gunk washing, and what I've done is I'm going to do it as another Q&A video. If you remember my RX 7082 build, when I was just test fitting all the pieces, I basically put a thing out on the Facebook and the Twitters saying, hey, ask me any old dumbass question and I'll answer it while I'm doing this. So what we'll do is in the next episode we'll do the gunk wash of all the armour, and just while I'm doing that I'll answer whatever dumbass questions you want to ask me. Not just about model making, it can be anything. preferably anything other than model making, because it's just more fun and interesting that way. And I'll give appropriately silly answers. So if you go onto my Facebook page and stick a question on there, go onto the Twitter account, stick a tweet on there, reply to my tweet, or just put a comment on here with whatever question you'd like to ask me. Try and stay away from religion and politics, because I'm not going to answer those, but anything else is fair game. I'll answer what I can. So what I'll do, I'm going to leave it here for the painting. What I will do is, just to show you and give you a bit of a treat, I'm going to loosely assemble as much as I can so you can get a feel for how this thing is starting to look. And we'll do that in the time-lapsing. When I've finished, I'll take it all apart again before I do the gunk wash. But, you know, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to quickly time-lapse this and just put as much of this together as possible, just loosely, because I don't want to be able to not take it apart again. And I'll give you a quick look at where we're up to. So let's go and do that. Thank you very much for watching. As always, stay tuned for the next episode when we'll do that Q&A thing, so post your questions. Visit me on Facebook, facebook.com/modelmakingguru. I'm on Twitter at modelmakingguru. And of course, as always, the website, which is modelmakingguru.com. As I'm regularly saying at the moment, if you go to the old website, modelmaking.guru, it's still there. I don't know why. It will go eventually, but if you try and contact me through the contact form on that site, it won't go anywhere. Go to modelmakingguru.com. If you need to get hold of me, you can do the contact form on there. But take care of yourselves. We shall see each other next time. Apologies for this short episode. There now follows the time-lapse buildy bit, and it won't be finished. I've not done loads of things yet. I've not put the eyes on or anything, so it's just quickly cobbling it together so you can get a feel for what we're building. And we'll see you next time when we do the gunk washing on the outer armour and some silly questions and answers. Adios, amoebas. Oh, hang on. Wait. No, I forgot him again. Yeah. I'm bored of that now. Quick teaser. Not fully assembled properly, just cobbled together. But here you go. This is just to see the kind of thing. This is what we're looking at so far. Again, just loosely cobbled together. Not everything's on there. I've not put all the cowling on the jetpack. The head's not done. Not built the weapons yet. But this is just to give you an idea of where we are up to. Can't wait to get this finished. Adios, amoebas. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, joy.